From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas of Stunning Digital Marketing. In this podcast, I sit down with Michael Killen and we talk about something we're both passionate about, sales funnels and how they work. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation that Michael and I had. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. Today I'm here with Mike Killen and we're going to talk about funnels. How are you today, Mike?
I'm good. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We were saying before we went to record, I just admire your energy and your videos and stuff because it's high. It reminds me a lot about me. I think we're both ADDD, right? So,
Do you know that's really interesting? Because I've been trying to think about this a lot recently. I've taken a lot of time off, and I think the danger is people think that I'm like this all the time, and I can tell you categorically that I'm not. I think it's like you have to put your best foot forward for some of this content, but in actual fact, I'm very quiet. I don't really talk to any people during the day. I kind of keep to myself. So yeah, I think it's a carefully curated uh, social media persona, and it seems to work. So I'll keep it up for the time being.
it's funny you say that, and I'm pretty much like I'm an extrovert personified, and I
Yeah.
so I get that. But even I like my downtime. Last night I was just kind of sitting around and usually I'm up late and it was like I'm
Mhm.
done. So,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I understand. So you wrote an amazing book about funnels that's
Thank you.
available on Amazon. I've read it. It's in my Kindle library.
Great.
I think it's one of the best go-to books. How did that book come about being?
That's very kind of you. Yeah. So basically, so the company I run, Sell Your Service, all we do is we just help marketing agencies, specifically funnel builders, sell marketing funnels. And this all came about when I was running an agency myself. This would have been in 2012 going forward. And we did really well. I consumed all the content around funnels. This was before there was sort of specialized software for it.
Yep.
And we would sell, essentially marketing funnels and opt-in form installation and this kind of stuff. And we would sell it for, you know, 25, 30, 50 grand a time, higher sometimes. And when I sold the company and exited the company and sold it to a media company back in 2016, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But the number one question I kept getting asked is how could you possibly sell marketing services for $25,000? And I thought, well, that's pretty easy, to be honest. I'll show you. So I wrote it down on a whiteboard, and that turned into a Facebook group, and then that turned into a series of webinars and a course, and so on and so forth. And the book really came about when I realized I needed a specific, to be honest, it was very targeted, and I knew I needed a specific piece of content that was an inroad into the later products that we have. So the goal is that if you buy the book Five Figure Funnels, I will then try and sell you the $1,500 course on Five Figure Funnels of the same name, and you get access to the community. So it was a very strategic move for me to try and have something that was extremely high value, but also allowed me to start leading people into that next higher ticket product. So that's really how it came about, and why we have it within our system, why I bothered to write a book.
Yeah. And that's the whole concept of funnels is you start with a low cost item, get people's trust, and then move up the ladder to higher cost items, correct?
Yeah, I mean that's certainly one of the ways of doing it. You know, I think marketing funnels have had a bit of a funny. I think they've been hijacked a little bit because the concept of the funnel has been around for hundreds, arguably thousands of years. I mean, Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, that whole book is essentially a sales letter, and the last, in the
Hmm.
original copies, the last sort of chapter is just trying to get you to buy his home study course. And so people have known that if you can get someone in, like you say, with a low barrier to entry product or piece of content, it's much easier to sell them a product later on. But it's also, it's not the only way. All a funnel is, even without any tools or any kind of um, technology around it, it's just a way of taking someone who doesn't know that you exist and turning them into a happy, profitable, repeat customer who refers you to their friends. Some people do that exclusively via Instagram. Some people do it via a mixture of very sophisticated advertising and training and webinars and products. The methodology is almost irrelevant as long as you understand that you're just trying to move people from "I don't know you exist" to "I'm not only going to spend money with you, but I'm going to tell my friends that they should spend money with you as well."
Yeah, I think in our space, in the technology and marketing space, too many people get hung up on what is
Yeah,
the mechanics or what is the
yeah,
software instead
yeah,
of running realizing it's the system and how you do it that matters. And
yeah.
I always say to people, don't sell me the solution, sell me the results. And
Yes.
what's your thought on that?
Yeah, so we have a saying, just sell futures, not features,
Yeah.
particularly when it comes to marketing funnels. And I say, well, the number one rule of selling anything is don't talk about the thing. So the number one rule of selling marketing funnels in our case is don't talk about marketing funnels. And when you're talking with when you're trying to sell anything, all too often, exactly as you've stated, people try to bury deep down into what they are going to deliver to the customer rather than what is the customer's life going to look like at the end of this working relationship, or during this working relationship with you. And you're right. I see way too often people getting really het up and hang up on um, the individual minutiae and the mechanics. And it's, we see it all the time. I see it day in, day out. I see someone will say, oh, webinars are dead, and then the next day someone will say Facebook advertising is dead, you have to do this instead for your funnels. And I'm like, if you buy into that, you're missing the point. That any kind of marketing automation software, the only thing it can do is accelerate or replace something that you're already doing. This is a huge misconception I think people have, where they're like, well, if I buy this piece of software, then magically it will solve a problem for me. And in actual fact, if you can't sell something face to face, just like a call we're having now, if you can't sell during that part, you could
Hmm.
buy all the sales and marketing conversion tools in the world. It's not going to increase the number of sales you're getting because you can't have that one-on-one. So unless you're doing that already, it's useless buying any software. And I say this as someone who has marketing software. I don't want you to buy it thinking it's going to magically change your life, because it will only get you the results you're currently getting. It'll only accelerate the results that you're currently getting. So that's why I think it's a very funny, I don't know, it's a funny environment that you and I work in.
Yeah, it's funny because, in the marketing automation software, and let's go there before we talk about funnels, a lot of high-end marketers like to jump on Infusionsoft/Keep.
Yep.
And I should tell you, disclaimer, I'm Infusionsoft certified. I have
Yep.
been for a number of years. And I learned from a trainer, a mentor, a gentleman by the name of Paul Toby in Toronto. Interestingly, his son Adrian Toby is the one who developed Groundhog, which is the WordPress marketing automation
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
package. And a shout out to both Paul and Adrian. But what Paul taught more than Infusionsoft was a system for building marketing automation. And you
Yeah.
should be able to take that system and apply it to anything that
Yep.
does marketing automation. So
Yeah.
one of the things, and when I think about it with funnels and with marketing automation, is most people They say, "Oh, I've got 1,000 people in my funnel." I said, "Great. Where are they?" "Oh,
Yeah,
they're in there
yeah, yeah,
somewhere."
yeah,
And that's because they don't set up a proper system of tagging and build a dashboard to have status on where people are.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
an example, right? So to me, the system's more important. And that all said, believe it or not, I'm a happy ConvertKit user these days
yep.
because ConvertKit is really good for creatives. So what do you like to use, Mike?
I use high level right
Yeah.
now. I'm really impressed with what they've been doing. I was using Active Campaign for a long, long time, and I
Hmm.
was very deep into their ecosystem. Um, and then, high level spent a lot of time uh, wooing me, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I was very skeptical. I will proudly say I am not an early adopter. I don't even buy uh, like video games unless they've been out for a couple of years or software.
I'm the same, by the way.
Yeah, because I know that they're riddled with bugs, and I just don't have the time to kind of play around with this stuff.
Yeah.
So eventually they got me in, and I really like it. But the truth is, just as you mentioned, Infusionsoft, or Keep as it's now called, when people ask me, what's the best marketing funnel software, it's a bit like if you're a photographer, what's the best camera? The best camera is the one you have on you. It's the one that you
Yeah.
use. There's no like perfect software. There's stuff that High Level does that drives me insane. There was stuff that Active Campaigner does that drives me insane.
Hmm.
I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect software, but exactly as you've stated, you can have, and this is why people get frustrated buying the tools, because they say, "Oh, I'm kind of lost. I'm not sure what I need to be building first." And exactly as you've stated, I'm like, well, first of all, where are your people who are closest to being customers, or where are the people who you've just sent a proposal to? What's
Yeah.
that list look like? Let's create a campaign for them first. And I think because these pieces of software now, they're so powerful. I mean, it's mind-boggling what they can do. For what is it? What some of them are like $19 a month or $100 a month. It's insane what some of these pieces of software can do, and it's very overwhelming. And realistically, exactly as you've stated, we should be thinking in terms of, well, I've got 5 people who I know I've sent proposals or offers to, or for whatever product, doesn't matter. Let's create a campaign of moving them to the next stage first, and let's build that in the software first, rather than thinking let's do absolutely everything we can, because that will destroy you under its own weight. You will implode under the stress of trying to build it all at once.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And then the other thought I would have is, and say to anybody who's creating a list and doing any type of funnel, is learn what segmentation is. Like,
Yeah,
learn to segment your list,
yeah.
learn to curate your list. So what many people in my space know, I have an email list that's around 8,000 people, Mike.
Hmm.
And hold your seat, my open rates are regularly between 60 and 65%.
Wow, that is
And
high.
and
Gross
that's
number.
unheard of.
Yeah,
And the
yeah, yeah.
reason they're up that high is, A, you deliver good content.
Yep.
B, you don't abuse your list. And we all talk about that a lot, that a lot of marketers abuse their list. Like, I think any marketer who's sending out multiple emails a day deserves to, in my opinion, to be shot. Like, I think
You see,
that's
that's
the,
really interesting. Okay, sorry, carry on.
and that's okay. And B is to prune and clean up your list on a regular basis. So go ahead, thoughts?
No, no. So the pruning side, I completely agree. Like we're pretty brutal. We keep the people who are on our, we call it do not disturb, but unsubscribes. We certainly keep them on a list, but purely because I want to make sure if they resubscribe, then we keep their data. But I completely agree that I will get rid of people as quickly as I can. And the same with um, segmenting. You know, I think a lot of people believe that, well, the size of the list is the size that you're going to be sending the entire offer out to, um, and that's wrong. Because you, like exactly as you state, you need people to put their hands up. You need people to say, yes, I'm interested in this topic, and then continue down the path. I frequently get uh, It's interesting. I never get complaints from my list, but I get complaints from people who I teach this to. I'm like, you should be emailing your list once a day. I believe you should be emailing your list once a day. And all too often, I have people go, that's absolute nonsense. If someone emailed me once a day, I would immediately unsubscribe. I'm not at all interested in that. And I don't think it's got anything to do with frequency. In fact, we know it hasn't got anything to do with
Yeah.
frequency because the number of times people check Facebook, the number of people times they check their Gmail account, and
Mhm.
the thought experiment I like to try and run with people is I say, if you received an email and every time you clicked on that email, you had $1 put into your account, you would be hitting refresh, hoping for a new email every hour.
Yeah.
And so evidently it's got nothing to do with the frequency. I think what upsets people is the enormous amount of um, the weight of content based around I want to try and sell to you compared to let's have a conversation. What are the questions that I want to ask? Like, what are you working on? That to me is far more important. And rightly so. If you only sent one email a month that was just a sales email, people would get annoyed with that. Amazon manages to get away with it. In fact, Amazon sends about 5 or 6 sales emails a day.
Amazon is a different omen.
Yeah, yeah,
I hate to tell you.
yeah,
And at least what they do right is they send those emails based on what you're looking at.
100%, exactly. And well, that's the segmentation side, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually have an email rule that says take anything from Amazon and toss a Google label on it and get it out of my inbox because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
that bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, but I agree with you to some degree. I mean, a lot of people would argue with both you and with I,
yeah,
and guys like Jason Resnick, and I'm
yep,
sure you know Jason,
I do.
and say to us, "Hey, email marketing is dead." And I keep saying, "Excuse me."
Yeah,
I'm hearing, and everything I've read says millennials prefer email marketing. Which they do not like is
hmm,
text message marketing
yeah, yeah,
because text messaging is a little more invasive. I
yeah.
mean, it's harder to do email marketing or funnels right now because I'll be honest, where I read a lot of my email is standing in line at the grocery store, standing
Yeah.
in line at the liquor store, standing in line at some store. Well,
Hmm.
with the pandemic, we're not standing in lines, are we, right now?
No, but again, I mean, first of all, for someone to say that email marketing is dead, that always makes me laugh because
Me too.
it is categorically, it's the only data source that you own. It's like there is nothing that will ever replace a newsletter list. Like
Yes.
that's the reason that so many print advertising and publishing agencies are still alive today, even though by all standards and admissions they should have gone under years ago, is because they have the data of all their customers, and that's so valuable. But it's not email marketing, any kind of marketing. I think what people are constantly looking for, especially when they say, "Oh, this is dead," because we do a lot of Facebook Messenger marketing. We have conversations in Facebook Messenger, and it works really well. But I think a lot of people think, well, email marketing will take, as you state, there's reasons that people open their emails and when they open them. It could take 3 months to build up a decent enough relationship with someone to the point where they read them regularly.
Yep.
But there's no faster method. I don't think, yes, you can pour money into advertising and start getting sales immediately, but I have seen repeatedly businesses who jump on the latest marketing trends and they completely miss the mark. What they're doing is that they are just working on the transaction. I wouldn't even say it's customer acquisition because those businesses die as soon as they realize that they've got a ton of customers who've bought a low ticket product. They haven't got anything to sell them on the back end. They haven't sent emails at all. If a $1 billion marketing company like Digital Marketer still sends emails, in my opinion, I'm going to listen to them rather than some joker on YouTube who says, "Oh, the new wave is now Facebook Messenger or Instagram ads." I'd rather keep, if I had to get rid of my website or my email list, I'd get rid of my website first because I think that's how powerful email can be when it's done properly.
I actually don't want to get rid of either of them because at the end of the day, your website and your email list are the only two things you own. Everything
Yeah.
else
Yeah,
is what we call rented land or space that we don't control.
that's
Or
right.
and
Yeah.
and you and I both know the rules on Facebook change by the day these days, and
Yeah.
it's
And
become
YouTube as well. YouTube, a lot of um, a lot of my customers are YouTube influencers who have got a huge audience, but they have no idea how to maintain a stable revenue because they are basically at the behest of how YouTube decides that they're going to dictate advertising on your platform, and it can. There's businesses that go from 100K a month down to zero purely because the YouTube algorithm or YouTube rules or whatever states we don't want to promote your content anymore.
yeah.
And it's like exactly like you say, it's like it's building a business in rented accommodation. It's very very dangerous and unstable.
Yeah, it's hard. Let's jump into funnels itself.
Sure.
So, in terms of to get somebody in the bottom of the funnel,
Yeah.
uh, what is the ideal amount? A lot of people say it should be a no cost item.
Yeah.
As a marketer, I have to tell you, I avoid using the word free as
Yeah.
much as I can because
Yeah.
we all know the cost of that free item is your email address, right?
Hmm.
We all let's establish that right off the top. What's a good cost for a no cost item? A dollar item, a free, a $0 item? What do you think is to get somebody into the funnel at the bottom?
Yeah, I mean, and this entirely depends on who your end target user is, right? So Morgan Stanley, who's one of my customers, their first initial consultation with me was a 1 hour call at their cost, and I charged them $497. And for them, they
Okay.
go, who cares? For $500 to talk to an hour for this guy to qualify us, not a problem. And similarly, when we've worked with other customers, we have charged them what is essentially exactly the same premise. It is a low ticket, low barrier to entry um, product in order to have a conversation with us. If I'm
Yeah.
then talking at the individual consumer or the small business person, then I like to say, would they have that money in their PayPal account? So anything under $50, maybe. I think the amount is irrelevant. I have tested everything from $1 up to $97, and the only thing that seems to make a difference is the specificity of the offer. This is what has made the massive difference, right? So if
Yep.
I say I've got a cheat sheet and a Google Doc that you can download, which will help you uh, write a proposal in under 19 minutes. It's $67. That sells really, really well. If I say, here we go, I've got a copywriting masterclass, it's $19. No one's interested in the copywriting masterclass because it's not specific. The offer isn't specific enough. So I think anything that people have got probably floating around in their PayPal account easily, and anything that has got a specific offer, those two combined, that is where people are like, again, for some of the larger customers, the intro product is, in 45 minutes I'll tell you exactly which marketing automation software that you need to be using. That was their inroad.
Okay.
And we order to them and have a conversation with them, and that will save them months of deliberating and going backwards and forwards. And then from there, as we've talked about, it's an important case of building a relationship and having a conversation with them going forward.
Yeah, I think it's all in a relationship.
Yeah.
When you go from the first step in the funnel to the second step, beyond the fact that you're going to give them obviously more value at the
Mm.
second step, is it the same in terms of the cost, or is it all in the value?
Do you know, it's a good question, and I wish I had a smarter and better answer. I haven't. We've tested a mixture of a ton of different price points and products, and there isn't a rhyme or reason. Some of the things we have seen is, let's say I get you in with a free cheat sheet. So I
Yep.
know you don't like the word free, but for all intents and purposes, it's a one pager, and I'm going to show you, here's my marketing proposal example, right? And you pick that up. Coming back to your earlier point about segmentation, I now know that this person is interested in writing marketing funnel proposals. So what's going to help them continually buy more and more products from me is if I continue down the path of a marketing proposal or a project proposal. If they opt in for the one-page cheat sheet and then I say, hey, I've actually got a completely free template that you can download, you can use it wherever you want, you can import it, you can write proposals in 19 minutes, plus there's some training to show you how to use it. It's $67, click here to buy it. What I then want to do, as a very broad rule of thumb, is I want to try and 5 to 10x the price. That's what I try and do.
Okay.
If someone comes through from the opt-in page or the squeeze page, I will redirect them immediately to a video sales letter. This is on some products. On some products it's different, but immediately redirect them to a video sales letter. And that video sales letter will sell them that initial lead-in product, that one-time offer. If they buy that, I will then try to 5 to 10x the price. So if I charge, $50 for the first thing, I will try and charge anywhere from $200 to $500 for the next thing. That, as a very broad rule of thumb, ours has a conversion rate of around 15% for anyone who buys the first product to the second one. So that's got quite a high rate, but the initial one-time offer rate is probably around 1%. So if you can do that, you can sort of work out the maths and work backwards. But some of the stuff, if people opt into a webinar or again some free training, I'll skip straight to trying to get them on a call. I'll say, hey, why not? Rather than waiting for the email to come through and having and taking some training and studying for 45 minutes, why don't we just jump straight away on a 10-minute call, and I'll qualify them via a form or on the call, or they'll go through to a member of my team. So again, there's a lot of mixing and matching, and I think it's important to find out what works for you and what you can accelerate, because some stuff is harder to accelerate and scale than other processes.
Let's talk mechanics for a sec. We were talking about squeeze pages or
Mm-hmm.
opt-in pages as we talk. I'm a big fan when I design opt-in pages. I don't like as little branding on that page as possible.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't like navigation menus on that
Yeah.
page,
Yeah.
because I don't want to give people the option to get distracted and go look at something else.
Yeah.
And then I'm also a big fan that when people opt in, I think the most misused part of the whole package is the thank you page.
Yeah.
I think people need to use the thank you page right away as an upsell opportunity,
Yeah.
or an opportunity to direct them to a piece of content that's A1 or something else besides saying thank you for your
Mm-hmm.
opting in. What are your thoughts on things like that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. On the terms of the design, I have a really standard, um, layout that I use.
Yeah.
And again, if people want to check it out, I know it sounds like I'm plugging, but if people want to check it out, I think if you just go to like sellyourservice.co.uk/sales book or something like that, I think that's the link, or we'll try and throw it in or whatever. And you'll see that it is literally a headline, 3 bullet points, and a button, and that's it. Exactly the same as you. I don't want any links because I don't want any people kind of navigating around and getting lost. But what's really funny is I have a lot of designers reach out to me about my site and say, hey, we could design you a much better site. Your sales pages are a bit outdated, or they're a bit salesy. I'm like, well, they should be salesy because I'm trying to sell something on them. But I say to them, I tell you what, I get roughly a 60 to 65% conversion rate on my pages. If you can beat that, I will gladly give you all the money you want to design the whole site. And to date, no designer has ever come back with a better design than the one I've got. I'm not saying mine is the best looking, but I would argue it is the best designed, because it does its job better than anything anyone else has ever put in front of me. So I think there's a lot of false onerous put on design and what aesthetics and what should look nice and all this kind of stuff. And the reality is, if you overcomplicate it, that's the number one thing that will drive down conversion. So I'm completely with you. The simpler the better. And even still now with paid advertising, it's exactly what I try to push people through to.
Yeah, what I would argue, to take this point one more step, is there's a reason that newsletter sites
Yeah.
and that you know, are very simple.
Yep.
What people want is, how do I get the information I want? How do I navigate? How do I get it? How do I contact you?
Yeah.
Everything else is fluff. And
Yeah.
by the way, as we're recording this, what do I get in my email inbox? Two more people trying to sell me website design without looking at my profile. But that's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
And the problem is, and people argue with me all along and
Yeah.
say, you know, your site is simple and you call yourself a design agency. And I say, well, yeah, because what I care about is conversions. I don't
100%.
and and don't get me wrong, if you're a model, if you're a photographer, if you're selling art paintings, then maybe you need to do a little bit more artsy stuff on your website. But really, websites are information only, and people need to get in that mode. And one of the biggest arguments, as you know, I've had for years with clients, is the whole slider argument. And
Oh man, people still want those, do they?
yes, they do. And
Jeez
it's the
Louise.
biggest waste of space on the face
Yeah.
of the earth. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know that's funny? Because we used to call sliders the area where you keep the marketing department happy. Like
Yep.
you would design a site and then marketing would say, oh, we've got this brand new promotion. I'm like, yeah, put it on a slider. They'll be really, really happy that it's sliding round. Um, yeah, and this, and to your point about the thank you page as well, 100%.
Hmm.
What drives me bananas is when people, and this goes back to your first point about what's the system, and people say, well, I don't know where each member of my audience is with and what stage of the funnel they're in, and we'll dig around, and like you're not even doing anything with the leads that are coming in. You're not making an offer to them. They say, well, we don't want to do a whole sales page and a video sales letter. I'm like, you don't need that. You have 3 headlines that say, thank you so much, hit your cheat sheet's on its way. How about we jump on a call? And immediately you'll start getting people on calls like overnight. And you know that someone is interested in that topic. So it seems crazy to me. You could even argue, if you wanted to get really into it, it's immoral to leave them because someone has come to you and says, I have got this problem to do with my marketing proposals that I'm being sent out. I want to, as someone who is trying to be helpful to my audience, say, well, how about, would you like some more help? Would you like further help? Would you like results better and faster and easier and with more automation? They go, yeah, I'd love some more help. I'd love some more results. Great. Here's the second thing that you need to get to buy and to get involved with. So it seems crazy to me that people aren't capitalizing on that initial excitement because that's when they're actually most likely to buy is when they have seen that you can help them and solve their problem. So to me, that's when someone's interest or likelihood of buying is at their absolute maximum. So why not capitalize on it?
Yeah, and even if you don't want to send them to a sales item, send them to 3 pieces of great content. Send them
Sure.
to a podcast episode
Yeah.
that tells your story.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a sale. Thank you pages are the biggest marketing opportunity that's missed by companies doing email marketing or
Yeah.
automation.
Yeah. Completely agree. I think I even did a seminar on that that's floating around on how I'm like the thank you page is where you could basically double the revenue of your business if you were sensible. That's where you would find the next zero, because it's such a wasted opportunity. But alas, we can only
We
only
can
tell
only
so many people at
we can
once.
only preach this so many times, right,
Yeah.
Mike? Yeah. So in your funnels, typically, and there's a lot of discussion. Should there be 5 stages? Should there be 6 stages? Should be there seven? Do you have a preference?
uh no. So we, again, it actually comes down to our reporting. That's actually how we've set it up. So
Hmm.
we use slaps. So we say if someone's a subscriber, a lead, the appointments we've generated, the proposals we've sent, the sales we've made, and sales plus, which is basically follow up. So what's that? SLAPSS. So we have 6 stages, I would say,
Yeah.
in our funnels in general, and that gives us a pretty broad and a pretty good overview of how many people are moving through the systems, and obviously the numbers of those people fluctuate depending on the campaigns we're running. Um, but in an ideal world, you would have, and it's actually the bottom half of the funnel is more important as well. If someone wasn't ever managing subscribers, or they weren't even bothered about the number of leads they've got or the number of like appointments and proposals they're sending, if they just had 2 stages, which is here's the number of sales we generate and here's the number of follow-up campaigns we send to people who have bought, in a funny way, maybe that would be like the perfect system, at least to start with, or at least that's where I would start looking at all. And again, everyone wants to go straight to the lead generation. Everyone wants to go straight to I need more leads, I need more leads. And we have a look at, well, you sent 10 proposals last month, or you had 100 people visit this checkout page and only 10 people bought, or only one person bought. What are you doing with those other 90%? What's happening with them? And people say, oh, I don't know. But we even see it worse than that. I'm like, well, how many proposals did people ask for? You say, 5. Well, how many have you written and sent? And I'm like, oh, I haven't got around to it yet. I'm like, right, so you don't need more leads, do you? What you need to do is start closing the sales that you have been offered already, and start developing relationships with those customers. That's where the money is. Lead generation is extremely expensive, and we say that unless your business is doing over 350,000 US dollars roughly a year, I don't think you should be spending money on lead generation. I think you should be spending every single cent and every single minute of your time having conversations with your current customers, which I know sounds paradoxical, because how do you get those customers in the first place? But if you focus on the results and the customers, and you try to get people on calls and have conversations with them and work through a referral network, that is the route, rather than scaling it at the top. Because until you've got dedicated appointment setters and dedicated closers, more leads is just going to add to your workload. It's not going to make your life any easier. But that's a whole, once you start pulling on that thread, you start going down some very, very long paths that I don't know that we've got time to cover on this call. But that would be where I would start focusing in terms of how many stages you should be looking at within your funnel. But it's an interesting question.
No, I would agree with you. I mean, I kind of, I think about what you just said, Mike, and I look at my own business, and, I look at parts of it, and I'm over that $350,000 range,
Hmm.
and I would still way over it.
Yeah.
And I would still bet you that, despite the fact I run funnels, that 70% of my new clients are referral based, believe
Sure.
it or not. And or building that relationship. I
Yeah.
mean, because people don't understand that in today's market, it takes somewhere between 10 and 15 touches or seeing
Mm.
your stuff for somebody to even look at you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
reason why Coca-Cola runs an ad every hour.
Yep.
And people laugh at that, and they say, that's too much. And I say, well, do you understand why?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's a reason. And what we got to realize is, I think a lot of small business owners actually drop on the follow up, and they drop on the that side of it. So I'll give you an
Hmm.
example. I have a friend of mine who's retired, and he's looking for a plumber. And
Yeah.
the plumbing company he called 3 days ago said, "Oh, a plumber will call you back and
Yeah.
talk to you about your situation." And he's still waiting 3 days later.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and contractors are like some of the worst of the worst,
Yeah.
because they get busy, so they chase job after job after job.
Yep.
And small business owners are the same, and they never invest any time in the future.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, the best time to make money, or to chase future money, is when you're making current money,
Hmm.
not when you're struggling.
Yeah. Absolutely. Why do you think people hesitate? Might be the only word I can think of. Hesitate with the follow up and the closing. Essentially, why do you think that is?
They're afraid of rejection.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I really believe that. And I mean, but if you don't try,
Yeah.
you're rejecting it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a I think it's a self-esteem problem with a lot of business owners.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think there's I was talking to a colleague of mine about this, and he was saying his hesitation in following up essentially comes from he doesn't want to lose the sale.
Yep.
So he doesn't want to pressure them too much. And I'm like, I used to work in car rental sales, and
Oh God.
insurance sales, right? So
Yeah.
I know full well what I used to do door-to-door sales for like satellite TV. So I know full well what high pressure sales is. Occasionally sending someone an email to say, hey, I just wanted to check in. Are you still suffering from this problem? You know, we're really keen to start. That is not high pressure sales. We could do high pressure sales another way, and I know that you've had those experiences as well, and maybe even done it. So it's this weird thing of like he's like, well, I'm worried that I'm going to lose the sale, and I'm like, no one in the history of mankind has ever lost the sale because they were keen to try and follow up and close with people. And you mentioned earlier that someone has. I get them all the time. I constantly get them, especially on LinkedIn. Like, hey, we'd love to redesign your website or do your marketing for you or whatever. And if I was any of those people and I had done my research and they had repeatedly sent me emails, tried to understand more about the business and had become smarter, and they weren't sending 100 emails a day, they were sending one to one person to try and build that relationship, I know those conversion rates would go up. But again, people are too quick trying to look for that immediate 2% that will convert right now, and they are ignoring, as a rule, we say that 2% of your audience will buy there and then. The other 2% will probably buy within the next 30 to 90 days. But 96% will buy. But exactly as you've stated, they need to see the message 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times before
Yeah.
they even know what you do. Like, you need to repeat that so many times and through so many channels and become consistent in knowing, in stating that message for someone to say, oh, yeah, Rob's going to be the person to work with me there, and continuing that follow up process is vital to all businesses, and that is where I believe that the money is to be found, not in easy and fast lead generation. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but as of yet,
No,
I
I
haven't.
think
So
I think you're absolutely right. And it's funny you mentioned LinkedIn, and I would say, if somebody took the time, and it actually happened yesterday, they read my profile,
yeah,
they commented about something on my profile and said, could we have a conversation? And I'm all for that. But
yeah, yeah,
don't read my profile or follow me and then send me what we all know is LinkedIn spam and say, by the way,
yeah,
here's my services, reach out to me and blah 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 blah.
yeah,
I mean, I mean, you do it really smart. What you do is even on Facebook, you'll say, oh, I've posted a new video, and you and I have
yeah,
had conversations over your videos, and
yeah,
I'll say, I really like this is why, and I get this, and this is why. And what people don't get is, and you don't even ask for an opt-in, you'll just say who
right,
wants it.
yeah, yeah,
And I have another good friend, shout out to my friend Adam Franklin in Australia. He does the same thing. He'll
yeah,
post something, and for low hanging fruit, he doesn't ask for an email address. He just says who wants it, and he'll DM you a link.
yeah, exactly. And it, again, it's all based around that idea of segmentation and getting people to put their hand up.
Yeah.
And I know full well that there's people who I have my eye on, right? Because our team notice that they're constantly engaging with our content. They're asking for, the free stuff, and they want to get involved. And I wish there was a smarter and more sophisticated method, but 50% of the time we're just saying, you know, hey, Rob, I really think we should get on a call. I know that you've been interested in this, whatever I've been talking about. We've got a 10-minute brainstorming session. Are you interested? And it works. And it's I have these targeted customers, people who I want to work with, who I think they would be perfect for the program, or whatever it is we're putting out. And I don't know why, again, people overcomplicate this. I don't think it's complicated.
I don't either.
I,
I've never.
so yeah, I don't know.
Mike, thanks for the amazing conversation. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, work with you, get together with your team, how's the best way?
Yeah, the easiest thing is actually emailing me. I can't guarantee that it'll be me who replies, but my email address is michael@sellyourservice.co.uk. I do read and reply to every single one of them, but sometimes I get my team to do that. I've also got sellyourservice.co.uk, the website, and my YouTube channel is probably the place where I hang out the most, which is youtube.com/sellyourservice. So people can find me there.
Thanks, Mike. Have an amazing day.
You too. Thanks for having me on. Good to speak to you, Rob.
A pleasure. Bye bye. A very special thank you to Michael for joining me on today's podcast to talk about funnels. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did having it for you. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, make your business succeed.